It's Nickey of Group Editors with the Provincial Electoral Officer of the Western Cape, Courtney Sampson. Courtney, there were a couple of incidents, apparently the northern provinces, with particularly the smaller parties contesting, saying that the vote was not fair and free and that they are now going to protest. Did we have any similar incidents, any similar sentiments in the Western Cape?
Well, I think not that I've heard of. I think we have maintained quite positive relationships here with the parties that have started off, even those that have just started off. I'm unfortunately not aware of the things that have been said nationally because I just haven't had time to catch up with the news. But I think that you were here last night when we gave the political parties an opportunity to say something there from the rostrum. And I think that unless I read it completely wrong, I got the feeling that they were quite complimentary. They were honest, but they were complimentary, most of all. And where they were unhappy, they raised one or two issues that they felt could be dealt with. But I think that the general feeling that I had was that they were complimentary to the work that our staff had been doing here in the Western Cape.
From the context of the African Transformation Movement, we will say the process of the election has gone fairly well, even though we are still of the view that there are some concerns which still need to be addressed.
My name is Faiz Jacobs, I'm the Provincial Secretary of the ANC. Our initial assessment is that we are very confident. We're also cautious about the inclement weather and the technical challenges that was experienced. But I think we are saying that we are initially very happy with what is happening.
I'm Iskak, the Jager, Altona. There were some hiccups as we moved around in the Western Cape and all over. We had some hiccups at certain PDs and so on. But everything went well.
The Alliance for Transformation for All, ATA, is quite very happy with the electoral process.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin by thanking the IEC. It was, for all intents and purposes, a very smooth running election.
I would firstly like to just start, but first I also just want to thank all the IEC staff. I know it's been a long haul, working very hard, long hours. At first we believed that the process was the same as all the rest of the processes we've had in the last 10 years that I actually attended the National Block. It was quite disturbing today when we received the phone call, and I just want to give a little bit of detail on this, to say that there were members of the EFF that were going from school from Milnerton Primary to Milnerton High, high-fiving one another because they voted more than once, and then actually going to Tableview.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really great to be here at the end of a long cooling campaign. That inking just comes off so easily. So I do raise these issues of concern, and obviously we've made these complaints, and let's see what happens now.
Thank you, Chairperson. I only have one complaint. Since the IEC is led by a priest, that you didn't order the right weather today. But yes, we did receive some complaints, but because our party agents were well trained, they were able to sort it there and then. We will continue to work with the IEC to make sure until the final results is announced that, you know, we are there to support the IEC.
We wish to express our gratitude toward our activists. But those incidents that we're reporting or we're reflecting on that not suggest that we are declaring the election that if they are not free and fair. But we're saying those incidents that were reported which we have not get a response from IEC. Lastly, we want to thank IEC for conducting such a professional election process. We want to also put on record to South Africans that we will wait and accept the result as they are once the IEC finishes to report.
If any of the particular parties would have a particular problem, Obviously, they must have been briefed about processes and about procedures to raise their concerns. What would those procedures, in a nutshell, be?
Look, our entire electoral system is based on the right and opportunity for political parties to object at any time inside the voting station, as well as afterwards by, what is today, tomorrow 5 o'clock. They can lodge Section 65 objections directly to the Commission if they believe that the objection will influence the outcome of the election and is material to the outcome of the election. That can still be done tomorrow directly to the Commission in Pretoria.
And your feedback, as you say, has been very good. We will obviously also just chat with a couple of the smaller parties. Thank you very much for speaking to the Group Editors Group.
It's a pleasure, Nickey. Thank you.
I'm with Deirdre Carter of COPE. Deirdre, you had a specific problem with the inking of the thumbs, and you've investigated this at length. Please give us a feedback.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I actually got a call to say that there were people that voted more than once. At first I said, it's impossible. You will not be able to vote because first you've got the zip and then your ink. Now we've had a problem in 2014 with the ink and in 2016, and supposedly the problem was sorted out. So putting the phone down, I decided, let me go check. Went to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of Domestos. I didn't even have to rub, it just diluted, it was gone, just dissolved. And I got a little bit concerned. So I drove to my voting station. Went to my voting station, went to the presiding officer, said, listen, I voted you earlier on because it's a small voting station, but please can you quickly scan my ID for me? So he scanned my ID and it scanned again. He was just as shocked as I was. I then said to him, listen, is it possible, and I can't vote here because the voters' roll is here, but will this VD's voters' roll be at another voting station? So he said no. So I said, do you think I can vote there? So he said no. So I said, I'm going to go try it. He said, please give me feedback. So what I did was went to the second voting station, went through the process, went in, scanned, got my little ticket, kept it as proof, went in now. I'm now going to go and collect my ballot paper, and I don't know if they were going to offer me a VEC 4 because there was a lot of stations didn't even complete VEC forms. And at that point I said, please call the presiding officer for me. I called the presiding officer. I didn't want to discuss this in public, and I said, can we please speak one side? And that's what we did. And she said, that specific, the second voting station said to me, yeah, but we've told the IEC that you can vote at different places. Now that to me was one heck of a shock. From there, I've said to her, please, here's my ID number, whatever, please report it from your side. They promised to report it. I went to the third one, I went to the fourth one, and that was all in the Goodwood area. I then said, no, let me rather go out of the area. So I drove to Panorama Palms. Went in, spoke to the presiding officer, said, listen, I'm here, and I've just walked in, and they have scanned me. They were really busy. So I did say to everyone, please excuse me, I've already voted, and I went in, and I said to him, just scan my ID for me quickly. Scanned it, got another card, called the presiding officer, I said, this is the case. So we've reported it national to the IEC, we've reported it locally to the IEC, I've given them the proof. Okay, we then had the detectives come out, and we were like 4.5 hours with them from about midnight last night until just before 5 o'clock this morning, doing statements and stuff, and they've really been great, trying to see if we can resolve this issue. The problem is, how do you resolve it?
I was going to ask, will the incident really have a material impact on the outcome of the election? And to what extent?
Absolutely. How do you know how many people did it? Since I said yesterday that there's a problem, people has been going on social media saying, I voted 3 times, I voted 2 times. There's videos out where people went and actually recorded them going in and voting more than once. Now those are people who openly wanted to test the system, and they spoiled their ballots and marked like the first 10 parties off. So they wanted to, but what about the people who did not want to test the system, the people that actually knew that they could go out and do it? But your challenge is, VEC forms were not completed in all of the voting stations if you came from another voting station. We've had, just for gentlemen from, when I spoke about the VEC 4 yesterday, one of the gentlemen of Cape Party said, but I voted in a different area from where I'm registered and I never completed any forms, and this is it. People are coming out and said, but we never completed these forms. But even worse is that when the voting took place, of all the party agents I spoke to today, they have not counted the amount of names that were scratched out on the voters' roll, and they haven't even looked at the VEC 4 forms. In other words, if you took the voters' roll that was scratched out and the VEC 4 forms, that should have told you how many ballot papers you were supposed to have. So if you have missed that step, how can you even try and see? But let's say we now do pick up that you have voted 5 times. How are we going to know who you voted for? How are we going to know which votes to take out? We're talking about 19 people was arrested in one VD in KZN today, just in one VD. I'm telling you, there's far more than 19 in a VD.